Hi, everybody. Welcome to yoga. I'm Annalisa. Thank you so much for joining me today. Um, uh, we are going to sit for just a moment, so you might want to grab a blanket or a cushion to sit under your hips to help you sit upright a little bit more. You also might like it as we will be on our knees a little bit. So if you like a little extra cushioning on your knees, I recommend you get that. Um, the past several weeks, I've been doing just a little introduction to the one of the kind of pillars of yoga, the yamas, or part of the ethics of yoga. And today is brahmacharya, which sometimes has been presented as celibacy, but often it's presented now as energy management. And you can kind of see how celibacy could fit into that as well. But the idea of energy management and kind of moderation in everything. So, um, this can apply to our practice that often we think that the poses are, the movements are the only part of yoga, but sometimes that is not right for us, either just on a day or a time of our lives. But there are these other parts of yoga, such as meditation and breathing, um, and even just this self inquiry and learning about the ethics and practicing them, that can be a part of it. So, on a lower energy day, perhaps you do more breathing and meditation, or maybe on a day when you feel great or you need a little bit more, then maybe you do more poses, or you just see how it works out, or you change the recipe or the formula for your day. And then in our broader lives, um, things like being aware of when you're spending maybe too much time, you're giving too much energy to your phone, to your computer, maybe to Netflix, or, you know, being aware of how you're using your energy, and maybe is it time to shift things up a little bit. And also the same thing personally. Boundaries are very useful because you might be putting too much energy into any one thing, business, people, drama, what have you. And so it might be time to tune in, see how you need to manage your energy and kind of moderate. And so, brahmacharya. So that's something that you can kind of put on the back burner today in your mind, let it simmer, see what that brings up for you. Um, Also, let it translate into each class that we do. If, as I've always said, these things that I say are just suggestions. So if something is not working for you, honor that. And you could step it up a notch if you feel like this is not working for me today. I need a little bit more oomph. Or if you feel like this is too much for me and you just need to kind of chill out, take a break before I stop a movement or whatever, that is totally fine. You can breathe or focus on a mantra or a saying or word or something that's useful to you, and let that be your yoga for today. All right. So, with that being said, like I said, put it on the back burner, let it kind of simmer and marinate. And then let's find a comfortable spot, either sitting, or if lying down might feel more comfortable for you, feel free to lie down. And then close your eyes or take a downward gaze, just something that you can kind of withdraw from the senses, particularly the visual senses that can be so stimulating, and start to tune in to your body. You don't have to change anything, just kind of notice where you're at with your body, your breath, your mind, and spirit. Just checking in with how they're feeling today, and possibly maybe how you might like them to feel. Could be the same, could be different. Just noticing. And then begin to invite the breath to become a little bit fuller and deeper as you inhale and exhale. The breath could be done through the nose, maybe out through the mouth, or in through the nose and in through the mouth, or any combination for what feels right for you. See if you can invite a little fuller and deeper breath, even fuller and deeper still. And you might even bring your hands to your lower ribs just to get a felt sense of the breathing, feeling the rib cage expand on the inhale, feeling it expand forward and back, out to the sides, and even up and down a little bit. And then exhaling and feeling the ribs coming back in to start. Taking a few breaths like that, just exploring and noticing. And then taking one more full breath in and a big full breath out. And then as you return to just a normal breathing pattern, let your hands come down if you like, and just take a few breaths normally. Begin to invite some softness and relaxation throughout the entire body. Checking in with the face and the jaw, letting those soften, maybe scrunching your face up and then relaxing that, opening the jaw, moving it from side to side and up and down, just exploring some jaw movement. And then letting that come to stillness, letting the teeth stay apart and the lips gently close. Inviting some softness into the neck and shoulders, moving around if you wish, and then coming to stillness. And letting that feeling of softness and relaxation drift down through the torso, letting the belly soften. Letting the arms and legs be soft, loose, heavy. And then getting a sense of where your body is contacting the earth, feeling the support of the ground beneath you. If your hands happen to be on your body, feeling the connection between the hands and the body, feeling the warmth, getting a sense of the clothes touching your skin. And the air around you. Maybe you can feel that as it touches your skin, moves around on your skin. Maybe you can even feel the air on your clothes. Noticing any sounds that are present, both far away and nearby. Noticing any smells or tastes that might be present for you. And though your eyes might be closed, perhaps noticing the play of light or shadow on your eyelids. Now taking your awareness into your mind and becoming aware of the thoughts, feelings, and emotions that might be present for you, and just acknowledging them and letting them be. Maybe letting them be like clouds in the sky, just drifting, or maybe getting the sense of them as being like a leaf on a stream, feeling that drift, noticing that drift. And then becoming aware of the present moment and all these little actions and awarenesses that we've done leading up to this can help us tune into the present moment. So the breath, tuning into the breath, tuning into the muscles, letting them soften, tuning into the senses, tuning into the mind. All of those can help us bring us right into the now. And if for some reason maybe those didn't work for you, you can always try to find a pulse, coming to a pulse point and tuning in to that very present movement of the blood, the heartbeat, bringing you present. And letting the moment be just as it is. And allowing yourself for that moment to be just as you are. And then let's take a big full breath in and a big full breath out. And again, breathing in and breathing out. And once more, breathing in and breathing out. And then let your breath return to normal. Let your gaze return to center, opening your eyes. And if you are lying down, then join us in a seated position, bringing yourself upright. And start to get a sense of yourself a little bit more. So bringing your hands to the top of your thighs, just give yourself a little loving touch. Rubbing over the thighs onto the lower legs. And even bringing your legs slightly out in front of you, letting the legs bend and getting a little bit more area to just bring some attention to front and back of the legs, insides and outsides, maybe even coming down to the feet. And if it's comfortable for you, then giving your feet a little rub, moving your body as you like in order to contact some of these areas, maybe giving your heels a little squeeze, giving the feet a squeeze, giving your shins and lower legs a little squeeze, and up into the thighs. Maybe even giving a little playful pat. And then starting to bring that attention and loving touch to your belly. Moving however you like, maybe just moving the hands in a clockwise circle. Moving your hands to your sides, kind of getting a sense of the sides of the body, however that can work out for you. Choosing your own adventure, finding your own way of making contact. And however feels comfortable for you, make some contact with the back of your body. Breathing however feels good, maybe breathing a little bit deeper as you just start to become aware. Maybe some of these places start to come online a little bit more than you had been previously aware of. And then bringing your hands now actually to the chest. Maybe just the upper chest, whatever feels good. You're in your own spaces, so make whatever contact feels good. Into the chest, maybe coming even to the sternum, giving a little extra rub to the sternum. The ribs connect here, got a lot of muscles, a lot of stuff that maybe gets curled inward a little bit more. Often we're curled forward, tighten up here a little bit more as we're driving or on our phones, or just maybe it's cold and so you've been huddling up a little bit more. So perhaps invite a little bit of extra attention, a little extra rub to the chest, opening up. And then however feels good, can you bring some attention to the upper back? And so as you're doing this, you're starting to move the arms around a little bit. So I invite you, find some different movements. Maybe you give a little pat on the back. Maybe it feels okay to bring the back of your hand to contact into the shoulder blades, whatever feels good. Just play, whatever. And start to move that into your arms. Start to give some loving attention to these arms that are always here for us, hopefully anyway. Coming down even into the hands, rubbing the hands together. What feels good? Would a little slappiness be something that feels good? If not, then don't. Again, really clap the hands together, really bringing some awareness. Maybe you need some extra energy. Give that a little shake. And even bring the legs out in front of you, or they can be wherever you like, but start to wiggle the fingers, wiggle the toes. Either just making fists or scrunching the toes in and then stretching the fingers and the toes out, or wiggling them. Now, as you wiggle your fingers, notice the movement that you probably have there. And then for a moment, check in with your toes as you try to wiggle your toes. How's that working? I invite you to, at another time, you could, if you want to spend the rest of the time here today checking in with your toes, I invite you to bring attention into each toe and notice what kind of movement you can get, if any. Now, I don't know that we'll ever be able to wiggle our toes the same way we could wiggle our fingers, but sometimes it's interesting to bring some attention and awareness and see what can happen just with awareness. So I've got my heels pressing into the floor and the toes are pointed up. So start to bring some movement into the ankles, into the wrists. Your arms and legs can be however you like. And then if you'd like a little bit more playfulness, then maybe lean back a little bit, and perhaps you lean back onto your arms and then give a little wiggle, maybe a little bicycle of the legs, or just kind of extending, or maybe you just lean back so you can do a little bit more wiggle of the legs. Listen to your energy level, listen to your body today. And so then maybe bring the arms into it. You can do a little, some rowing here. Imagine that you're on a rowing machine, if you've ever been on one of those, or just imagine that you're rowing. And you could maybe row the tiniest little boat and go the other way. Maybe you bring your legs into it as well. And maybe you start to make that boat or the movement, the motion a little bit bigger. Feel free to have fun with this. And then take it the other way. Maybe spiraling a little bit inward, making things a little bit smaller. And then maybe leaning back a little bit, can you get everything into it? Just doing a shake. This can be a great thing to do just to kind of shake the doldrums off, get a little bit more energy. All right, and then bring yourself back to center and pause. And if you have your legs crossed, I invite you to try crossing them the other direction. And then just take a moment, notice how you're feeling. Maybe checking in. Do you remember how you felt when we first got started? With the awareness. And then how do you feel now? And then open your eyes and inhale your arms up overhead, and then exhale, bring them down. And then inhale the arms up if this feels comfortable for you. And then as you exhale, twist and bring the arms down to about shoulder height. Inhale, come back to center, arms up. And then exhale, twist towards the other side, arms come down to shoulder height. Inhale, up to center, exhale down. If this isn't working for your arms, feel free to adjust them, or you can do this without the arms as well. You could just breathe in and then exhale, twist. Breathe in, come center, breathe out, twist. Do a couple more repetitions of these. Maybe once more either side. And the next time you inhale with the arms up, exhale and lean over to the right. Inhale to center, exhale, lean to the left. Inhale to center, exhale, lean to the right. Again, this is something you could do without bringing the arms up. Inhale to center, exhale, lean. Once more, either side. Inhale, come to center. Exhale, and bring the arms down if they were up. Let's move some shoulder circles. Bringing the shoulders up, back, down, and around. And going the other way. Perhaps you're doing this both shoulders together. So maybe try going alternate, noticing kind of a luxurious movement. Noticing where you're feeling the movement. And then coming back to center, coming to stillness. And next inhale, press the chest forward. And then exhale, press the chest back, the spine moves behind you. I'll move to the side so you can see. Inhale, forward. Exhale, round the spine back. Getting a little spine movement forward and back. And then one more time, forward and back. And then come to center. Take a pause. And now, why not invite a little spiraling movement? If you need to adjust your legs to move them into a different position, feel free. So creating a little spiral movement, perhaps thinking about the chest coming forward, the chest moving to the side and back and to the other side. You can make this however you like. So if you like kind of just moving from point to point, just really feeling those points, or if you'd like to make that into a smoother spiral, go with that. And then pause and go the other direction. So find those points first, front, side, back, side. And then again, choose your adventure, maybe just going point to point, kind of making it almost like a diamond, or making it a little bit more of a spirally movement. Knowing that that spiral could be very small. Spirals don't always have to be super huge. They could be, but they could also not be. So you can play with that, play with the scope of the spiral. And then gradually bringing that movement to a close and coming to stillness. And then inhale and exhale, take your right ear towards your right shoulder. And then inhale, come to center, and exhale, left ear to left shoulder. And back to center. And now move at your own pace. If you want to keep syncing it to the breath, or if you'd like to hang out for a few breaths to explore the stretch or the movement, this is your time. Check that out. Go from side to side. And then come back to center. And when you're ready, if it feels comfortable, start to move your chin down towards your chest, inviting some length through the back of the neck. And you might even like, if this feels comfortable and it's available to you, to bring a hand, one hand, both hand, to give a little squeezy kind of massage or contact or whatever might feel good. Maybe it's just going to be a little rub, but make a little movement in the back of the neck, keeping the chin where it is. So you're just lengthening through the back of the neck, and then just exploring. You can bring both hands up, maybe bringing it into the shoulders a little bit more. Just exploring a little self-massage today as we get going. This can help with our own awareness of our bodies. Sometimes we're not quite as aware of places until suddenly we're very aware. Sometimes it's nice to be aware of them in a friendlier, happier, more positive sense. All right, and so then whatever you've been doing with your hands, let that go. And if you'd like to create a little bit of a half circle here, Gently rolling an ear to one shoulder, and then coming back down, chin towards chest, and then rolling towards the other side. Checking in with what feels good. Taking a couple more moments here. And then eventually letting your chin come back towards the center, towards your chest, and gently bringing the chin back. And then let's do a couple more shoulder rolls, forward and back. And then on your next inhale, open the arms out wide. And then exhale, bring one arm across the body and hold. Perhaps moving your head from side to side. Perhaps not. And then next inhale, open the arms out wide again. And then as you exhale, bring the other arm across and hold. Maybe moving the head, maybe not. Then inhaling the arms out wide. And then exhaling, floating the arms down. And let's come to our hands and knees. And so take a moment to start moving in that direction, tucking in your shirt if you like, bringing some cushion for the knees if that might feel good. Finding a table position on all fours with your wrists beneath your shoulders and your knees beneath your hips. And once you're here, I invite you to create some movement here, perhaps bringing the belly down, bringing the spine closer towards the ceiling, starting to move around a little bit and finding what feels good. Maybe we've been sitting for a while, so maybe moving the hips a little bit from side to side might feel good. Getting a little bit more lower body movement. Taking them from side to side even. Checking in. Move all the pieces that feel movable right now. But I invite you even to be a little playful, like my knees are on this folded blanket, which feels like it's easier to bring my feet off the floor. So I almost feel like I can move my lower legs a little bit to side to side. That might not feel as good if your knees are directly there. So this could be an instance where maybe you do, even if you don't feel like you needed a cushion under your knees, maybe you put something there just to experience something different, a little variety. So move things all around. And then coming back, sitting back on your heels for just a second, giving a little shake out of the arms, maybe giving a little bit of extra attention to the wrists. I even invite you to take one hand, hold the other wrist, and maybe moving it onto the forearm a little bit more so that you get a little bit more wrist movement rather than movement through the arm and the elbow. Just to come into the wrist a little bit more, moving that wrist around, and then coming over to the other side, trying that movement while isolating it to the hand and wrist. Giving that a little shake. And coming to all fours and actually sitting back on the heels and bringing your elbows closer in towards your knees, turning your palms down, letting your fingertips point forward and bringing your right fingertips to behind the right ear. And then as you inhale, Raise your elbow up towards the ceiling, and then exhale, bring the elbow down. Inhale up, exhale down. Let's do 3 more of these. And 1 more. Finishing up, bringing the elbow down. Finishing up that movement and bringing the elbow back down, taking a pause. And then bringing the left fingertips to behind the left ear. And then inhale, lift the elbow towards the ceiling. Exhale, elbow to elbow. Inhale, elbow lifts. Exhale, down. Do 3 more of these. Perhaps on this last one, inhale, exhale, the elbows meet or come very close together, and then starting to move that elbow back in front of the knee, taking a pause, moving the head a little bit from side to side and around. And then gently coming back onto the hands and knees. Finding your way there. And then taking your right leg out to the side. I'm going to turn here for a moment. So take your right leg out to the side with the sole of the foot pressing onto the floor. And then press your hands into the floor, feeling the floor being pressed away from you. And then slightly sit back. And then move forward. I'll show you this. So you won't be coming down all the way seat to heels, but just partially, feeling something happening in your inner thigh, in the back, in the arms. And then next time you come forward, pause here. And then your right leg is out to the side, so take your right arm out to the side. And inhale, and then exhale, thread the arm through, reaching towards the left. Then inhaling, coming up, maybe just bringing the arm out to the side if that feels good, or if it feels better, maybe opening, unwinding a little bit more. And then exhale, reaching through. Inhale to unwind, opening up, and then exhale, threading and reaching towards the other side. Moving only as much as feels comfortable. Syncing the movement with the breath. Now, the next time that you reach up, reach, and then let that hand come back down and let the knee come back in. If you need to take your hands off, give a shake, what have you, go for that. And we'll go to the other side. So resetting into the table position, take your left leg out to the side. And then from here, you're going to press the floor away from you, and then keeping that left foot pressing into the floor, start to slowly sit back. And you'll find that with keeping that pressing feeling, there'll be this kind of natural boundary. For me right now, this is kind of it. And then you'll come forward. But perhaps something else creates a boundary for you. So find your own boundary and honor it. Breathing as you move forward and back. And the next time you come forward, take a pause, readjust your hands if necessary. And take your left arm out to the side now. Inhale. And then as you exhale, start to lean down and thread this left arm underneath the right arm. The head doesn't have to come down. The shoulder isn't touching the mat. You're just reaching through. And then inhaling, opening the arm out to the side, or maybe even up a little bit more. And exhale, reach through. The side could feel different from the first side, and that's okay. The movement, the size of the movement could be different. Breathing, moving. And then the next time you reach out to the side or you're reaching up, you're in that kind of unwound position. Reach up or out, and then let that hand come down. Bring your leg in, and then sit back onto your seat, onto your heels. Give a little shake out of the arms, the shoulders. Maybe move the hips a little bit from side to side. And then raise up onto your knees. Again, remembering, grab something for under your knees if that would feel better. Find some stillness here on your knees. Just notice how it feels to be standing on your knees or kneeling. And let your hands come to your hips and move your right foot forward. And as you move that right foot forward, let your upper body come down to rest, letting your hands come down to either side. And here, if you'd like, if it doesn't feel great to be so squished up against your leg maybe, or you feel like you need a little extra height, here some blocks could come in handy. But if you don't have blocks, you could use 2 cans of beans or what have you, canned vegetables or something of that sort, or some books that are about equal height, some cushions. You could probably, I was thinking about this the other day, you could probably even use some shoes. That would give you a little extra height. You could just put your hands on the top of the shoes, depending on what kind of shoes they are. But so find what would feel good, and you can experiment. And using props isn't a bad thing. It's just something. And I mean, right now we're using a prop of the floor, of the mat, probably, and that's okay. So from here, take your seat back now. So you've been leaning forward. Now send your hips back and let your foot roll up a little bit. Let the toes point towards the ceiling, but keeping that heel anchored into the floor, keeping maybe a little bit of a bend in the back of the leg, or excuse me, in the knee. And then float forward. And then float back. You have an option to stay here, just feeling the flow, breathing as you move back and forth, feeling this movement through the legs, feeling it wherever you're feeling it. But there's another option. If you like, you might walk your hands up onto your thighs and maybe bringing one arm, I would say maybe the arm of the leg that's behind you. So I think that's your left leg. You might raise your left arm. And as you come down, you bring the left arm down, leaning and coming up, or maybe even both arms. This is a bigger movement, and if it's not feeling quite right, it's also a little bit of a balance. There's a lot going on here, and so if this does not feel quite right, then feel free to stay with both hands down, just do one arm. It's all good. You might even play with curling the back toes under, seeing what that feels like. And the next time your hips are back and your hands are down, I invite you to move your hands over towards the left and let your right leg swing back around and sit back on your heels for a moment. Again, moving however you like to adjust, and then coming to stillness, just noticing how you're feeling. And then when you're ready, come back to kneeling, raising up onto your knees, and maybe moving the hands to your hips as you send your left foot and leg forward. Taking a breath, noticing how this feels. And then slightly letting the hips drift forward, letting the upper body come down to bring the hands on either side of the foot, adjusting with some blocks or other type of prop if you'd like a little bit more height. Taking a few breaths here. Checking in with the head and neck, moving the head around a little bit. And bringing that movement to stillness and checking in with the face and the jaw again. Softening your features, creating a little space in between the teeth. And start to send your hips back, letting the foot come up with keeping the heel on the floor, pressing the heel in and slightly away. Keeping a little bend in the knee, the toes point towards the ceiling. Take a few breaths here. And now start to flow forward into that first lunge position. And then flow back, hips come back, the foot kind of peels off the floor. And again, as we did on the first side, now this could be different. You might choose to do something different on this side. So you could keep the hands and arms down, or perhaps as you come forward, lifting yourself up, supporting onto the thigh, and raising one arm up, the right arm this time, inhaling as you're forward, exhaling and lowering as you come down. Or if you'd like that extra challenge of both arms moving, give that a try, knowing that there's those other options to come back to. The next time your hips are back, let your hands come down if they're not already, or they probably are. Bring them over towards the right side as you let your leg come back in and sit back on the heels. Taking a few breaths. noticing. And then I'm going to go ahead and move the cushion out from underneath me because I'm going to stay sitting on my heels. So I invite you to do the same thing and slide your hips over towards the right. If having a little bit more cushion would feel better, then feel free, bring the cushion over to the right, slide those hips over to the right, see how that feels. And while here, bring your right arm up, and you could bring the fingertips towards the shoulder or bring your hand to your hip, or you can bring the arm all the way up. And then gently, maybe walk your left fingers over towards the left to create a little side bend here. And check in. You might like to adjust a little bit, find a little movement, reaching the arm a little bit around, taking the gaze up and down and around. Take a few breaths here to notice. Maybe one of those things that you notice is that you don't like feeling all that, you don't want to be bent that far over it. So feel free to come back up. Taking one more breath wherever you're at. And then the arm comes down, and then lift your heels, or excuse me, lift your hips back up onto your heels, kind of coming to center. Noticing the differences in the sides. And then if you want to scoot the cushion around, go ahead, move that, and then let your hips come over towards the left. And now perhaps the hand comes to the hip, perhaps the arm reaches out to the side, the fingertips come to the top of the shoulder, or maybe you lift all the way up, inhale, and then exhale, gently let your right fingers maybe walk out a little bit as you lean and bend towards the right. Would a little movement feel good here? If the answer is no, that's okay too. Coming up a little bit more if that might feel good. And then slowly, wherever you're at, start to let that left arm come down, raising up onto the heels once more, taking a breath. And then I'm going to give you two options here. You're invited to either move into child's pose, so coming from this kneeling position, and you can keep the knees where they are, and maybe taking them out to the sides a little bit more, and starting to bring your torso down to the floor. And maybe that means bringing a cushion down to rest your head. You don't have to come all the way down to the mat. So this might feel good. But if that is not what feels right, then you can also spend a few more breaths here in this kneeling position. Or start to come down onto your belly, onto the floor, making a little pillow with your hands. It might even feel nice to bend your knees a little bit. Take one of these positions and take a few breaths. Taking one more breath wherever you're at. And if you had been in the child's pose or in or just in a kneeling position or some other position, then I invite you to join us on your belly. So come down flat onto the floor, onto your belly, and meet us, meet any of us that were already there, meet us there. And everybody, now that you're down on your belly, reach your arms forward and reach your fingertips to whatever's in front of you, and reach your feet and toes to whatever's behind you. Wriggling a little bit, finding some length, and even seeing if you can find a little length in the back of the neck by bringing the chin towards the chest a little bit more, maybe taking your gaze more towards the floor as you reach the crown of your head out to whatever's in front of you. So just finding some length here, reaching in opposite directions, and then coming back, bringing your hands underneath you, underneath your head or face, to make that little hand pillow, and bend your knees and windshield wiper your legs from side to side. Or any kind of movement that might feel good. If that movement is no movement, that's okay too. And slowly let your feet come back down to the floor, enjoying a moment of stillness to take a few breaths. And then you have a choice. You can either roll a little bit from side to side and roll yourself all the way onto your back, or bring yourself up to a table position and then bring yourself onto your butt, and then start to bring yourself down onto your back. And now that you're on your back, allow your arms to come up over your head, and like we just did on our belly, reach your arms to the now whatever is behind you, and reach the soles of your feet to whatever's in front of you. And reach, wriggle, find length, find maybe some nooks and crannies that need to be addressed. Imagining a slinky or an accordion, or even like a dryer hose, or the dryer vent hose. Imagine creating some space, as long as it feels good. If there's any discomfort, then I invite you to change or just become still. And then allow your arms come back down by your sides. Bring your knees into a bent position, the soles of the feet on the floor, and bring one knee in towards your chest. Give it a little hug. Let go of that knee. Give it a little circle, a little out to the side, letting the movement come from the hip, taking the hip through a full range of motion, and going in both directions here. And then letting your foot, or excuse me, the next time the ankle comes around, let it rest on top of the left thigh. And I'm just going to leave us right here, keeping the left foot on the ground and just noticing what we feel right here. If there's another variation that you know of that might feel good, feel free to take that. You might take a cactus position or a goalpost position with the arms even, letting the palms face the sky, the fingertips reach behind you. There's a bend at the elbow. And then let that foot come back down. Reach your knee, now your left knee in towards your chest. Give it a little hug. And then release the leg, keeping the knee bent. Give a little circle of the knee and the leg, making that movement come from the hip and going in the other direction. And the next time that ankle comes around, let the left ankle cross over the right thigh, just above the knee. And again, I invite you to maybe just stay here in stillness, or if there's something else that feels good, you can do that. One more breath here. And then allow both knees to come in towards the chest and bringing your forehead in towards the knees, or just bringing it up off the upper body, a little bit up off the floor, the head, neck, and shoulders. Give a little rock from side to side, or whatever kind of rock. You want to keep the movement small and side to side, or you want to make it a little bit crazy, maybe a little forward and back. Start to slow that movement down, letting the upper body come back down, and just allowing the hanging on to the knees, the top of the knees. Just allow a little bit more circling of the legs, knees, and then eventually slowing that movement down, bringing it all the way down, letting the feet come down, and coming down to find our Shavasana. If you feel like there's something that you need to do to feel a little bit more ready to be here in this relaxation pose, feel free to do that. Knowing that there are several different ways, there's so many different ways to find your Shavasana. You could have both knees bent. You could have one leg bent and the other leg straight. You could have both legs straight. You could have the legs straight with a bolster, a cushion, a folded blanket underneath the knees. Maybe you bring something under the head. Find what feels good. Maybe you roll onto one side. Maybe you decide to sit up. Wherever you're at, take a few long, slow, deep breaths in and out. Really starting to relax and soften into the support that is there for you. The blankets, the bolsters, or just the floor. Feeling yourself soften a little bit more on every exhale. Checking in through the whole body, softening any tight areas. Is there any areas that are being clenched or that need a slight adjustment to feel a little bit more comfortable still? Could the face have a little less expression? Could you let the teeth part slightly? Letting things quiet. The breath, the muscles, the mind. And slowly begin to let the breath deepen. Let the awareness deepen. And start to wiggle your fingers and toes, bringing a little bit more movement into the body again, but not too much. And gently bending your knees and rolling over onto your favorite side, taking a break there for a moment. And then keeping your eyes closed, slowly pressing yourself up to a seated position. Taking a big full breath in and letting it out. Another big full breath in. And as you let it out, maybe you let it out as a sigh. And once more in and out. May we be free of suffering. May we have physical happiness. May we have mental happiness. May our hearts be at peace. You can let your eyes open, and thank you so much for joining me today, spending some time moving and breathing and stretching. And enjoy the rest of your day or evening, whatever time it is when you watch this. And I hope to see you again next time. Thank you.